Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, and welcome to our high-level event on making the European Child Guarantee a reality in the European Union. Over the next 2 hours, we'll be looking at insights and progress in piloting the European Child Guarantee Programme in 7 EU member states. This high-level event is organized jointly by the European Commission and UNICEF in coordination with the Portuguese Presidency of the EU Council. I'm Shada Islam. I'm an independent EU commentator and analyst based here in Brussels. This is a question that is central to my work and very dear to my heart. So I'm really delighted and feel very privileged to be moderating this high-level event. So today we will be sharing our experiences of good practices, models and services which are helping and supporting children in need and addressing questions that are so important in today's pandemic world, but also before and after, problems and questions to do with child poverty and social exclusion. We will watch short videos filmed by the children themselves, giving voice to their thoughts, their ideas, their hopes and their aspirations. So prepare yourselves for an exciting and inspiring afternoon. Now, we're all used to Zoom, but still some housekeeping rules to keep us in the loop on what we're expecting to do. So for all the speakers, first of all, thank you for joining us from across Europe, all the panelists in this very impressive afternoon. Please make sure you have your camera on and your microphones muted during this event. And please make sure to unmute your microphone when you're speaking. So interpretation is available in Italian, French, and English. So please make sure to select a language you wish to listen to in the interpretation options on the bottom of your Zoom window on your right-hand side. So if you wish to listen to the event in English, please make sure you select English as your interpretation language at the start. Now, for attendees, thank you for joining us from across Europe. I know you're there and very, very excited and waiting for the conversations to begin. Just to tell you that the Q&A option, questions and answers, is available to you in this meeting. So if you wish to make any comments or ask questions, please submit them to us in the Q&A box. Once again, it's at the bottom of your screen. And we will try and find the time to read those out and ask our panelists about what you are thinking about and what your comments and queries are. Now, if you're organizing an event of this kind, which is about child guarantees and looks at children and the challenges they face in inclusion, poverty, disabilities, and many other challenges as well, you can't really do it without listening to the children. So we turned to some children and asked them for their thoughts, their ideas, and their aspirations for the future. And we asked them to film the videos, and I'm delighted to say we're going to share 3 with you during this event. And I'm going to start off now by showing you the first one. So let's roll with the video now by the children.
European leaders should guarantee access to quality education, healthcare, sports, and culture to every child living in poverty. They have to ensure the opportunity for every child to develop itself in a way it desires. For those who face difficulties, leaders must guarantee systematic protection and support.
Εγώ δεν περίμενα από τις γέρες να υποσχεθούν κάτι, διότι θέλω να καταλάβουν πώς είναι να βιώνεις κάτι τέτοιο στο παιδί σου. Θέλω να δούνε πώς νιώθουν τα παιδιά και αυτοί να βρουν έναν τρόπο για να σταματήσει όλο αυτό.
I think what the government and the leader should actually do is try to let these children know that yes, even though you were born into poverty, that doesn't mean that you will have to spend the rest of your life being poor. So they should let them understand that the government, the leaders are there for them, and they should create possibilities for these children and give them much more opportunities in the society.
Smatram da bi poglavari države trebali toj djeci osigurati osnovna sredstva za rast i razvoj.
Ja mislim, predsjednik države mora napraviti svako dijete može ići u školu, vrtić i tako da će imaju neću kupiti odjeću i hranu i kriče.
So the voice of the children themselves, saying what they want governments and leaders to do for them. Just because we're born in poverty doesn't mean we have to spend the rest of our lives in poverty. And that is a central message also coming out from this afternoon's event. So thank you very much to those children for that video. Very powerful, very emotional. Let me turn now to David Sassoli. He's president of the European Parliament. He couldn't be with us here today, but he sent us a video message.
Buon pomeriggio, sono molto contento di poter partecipare a questo importante evento, rendere la garanzia europea per l'infanzia una realtà. Voglio ringraziare la Commissione, la Presidenza portoghese, Unicef per il lavoro svolto e per questa importante iniziativa a pochi giorni dall'adozione da parte del Consiglio delle conclusioni sulla garanzia europea per l'infanzia. Siamo chiamati oggi istituzioni, Stati membri, associazioni, a discutere uno degli strumenti forse tra i più importanti nella storia dell'Unione Europea, come proteggere ogni bambino da ogni forma di povertà ed esclusione sociale. Sin dal 2015 il Parlamento Europeo è stato in prima linea, ha chiesto alla Commissione Europea, agli Stati membri di tutelare i bambini, le bambine tramite accesso gratuito all'assistenza sanitaria, alimentare e ai sistemi educativi, a cure per l'infanzia e a un alloggio dignitoso. Nel 2017 il Parlamento ha anche cercato di rendere concreta una richiesta politica attraverso un'azione preparatoria nel bilancio europeo. L'Europa sociale, ne parliamo tanto, ma l'Europa sociale che vogliamo, così come ribadito anche durante il summit di Porto, non può permettere che un quarto dei bambini in Europa viva a rischio povertà, sia escluso. Oggi più che mai siamo coscienti degli impatti socio-economici della pandemia sul futuro delle nostre generazioni. Per questo la garanzia europea per l'infanzia deve essere al centro delle riforme strutturali e dei piani economici degli Stati membri, così come richiesto 2 settimane fa nella plenaria qui al Parlamento europeo. I governi devono presentare piani nazionali e adottare riforme strutturali ambiziose per rompere il ciclo della povertà, dell'esclusione sociale, per il nostro futuro, perché nessuno venga lasciato indietro. È con grande piacere che vediamo risultati confortanti nei 7 Stati membri pilota su questo progetto. Grazie al lavoro dei governi locali, Commissione Europea, Unicef, i bambini più svantaggiati ed esclusi hanno ricevuto accesso ai primi servizi essenziali. Questo è molto importante, è un successo e voglio ringraziarvi per il vostro lavoro. Contate nel mio sostegno, in quello del Parlamento Europeo, perché ogni bambino non sia mai più escluso. Grazie.
Grazie to you, Mr. Sassoli. Thank you very much for your commitment from the European Parliament to this struggle, this campaign, and this idea, this concept of child guarantees for the most excluded children and the most vulnerable children across the European Union. Thank you for that message and for pointing out to the importance of Europe, which is a social Europe. Thank you very much indeed. Let's turn now to Mrs. Ana Mendes Godinho. She's Minister for Employment, Solidarity and Social Security from Portugal. Of course, Portugal currently in the EU presidency chair. So, Ms. Godinho, the screen is yours.
Hello to all of you. Hope that you are listening okay. It's well?
Perfect.
Yes. Well, first of all, hello from Portugal. Today it's a very special day for Portugal. It's our national day, so it's quite an interesting day also to celebrate with you and to discuss with you what we need to do more. I have to congratulate and thanks Mr. David Sassoli, also Mr. Nicholas Schmidt, dear Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, dear friend, Ms. Afshan Khan from UNICEF, also dear Shada Islam for conducting this so interesting conference. Well, first of all, I have to thank you, UNICEF, for organizing this and the European Commission for the opportunity also of participating in this conference with you. It is an honor, you know, for the Portuguese presidency to be associated to such an important event and such a crucial area that we must put in our front page. We live a crucial moment at the time for our lives, for our communities, and for our children's rights. That must be at the forefront of our political agenda. So my first remarks, of course, are to underline the sheer pertinence of this initiative and the contribution that it brings, in fact, to what we want to achieve in the European Union in what concerns combating child poverty and social exclusion, and mainly breaking intergenerational cycles of disadvantage. We cannot give a break as a society. We cannot relax when we have 1 in every 4 European children that are at risk of poverty or social exclusion in Europe. We are not miracle makers, but we are policy makers and we are doers. We have the responsibility to act, and we can do different from what we did in the past, and we can change what needs to be changed with focus, with energy, and with a children mindset mood in our main goals. I hope that today we will have an effective sharing of readings and experiences on the real problems that we all face today and the main challenges that we need to address in the short, in the immediate, the medium, and also in the long term. And on first hand, and for the first time, I'm very proud to share with you and to announce that we were able to reach an agreement, and the recommendation for the European Child Guarantee will be a reality and it will be adopted, that's what we hope, next Monday on the EPSCO Council. This is not, of course, a victory of the Portuguese presidency. This is a victory from all of us. This is a victory from all the member states, and this is a victory for the 18 million children at risk of poverty or social exclusion in the European Union. This is also, of course, a victory of the European Pillar of Social Rights and of the deliveries of the Social Porto Summit. I have to thank all of those who made this victory possible, namely my friend Nicholas Schmidt, all the member states, the European Parliament, and I have to say, of course, my team. This is a victory to guarantee education, childcare, good quality healthcare, and decent housing for all children in Europe with no exemptions. Thank you for being by our side and for strongly supporting us during this period. As I said, we are not miracle makers, but we do make impossibles happen. The seeds are spread. Now it's time for all of us to make it happen and to happen faster. As we say in Portuguese, we cannot lower our arms. We must keep pushing to achieve this common ambition for all of us, but mainly for the sake of our children. The persistence of poverty and unemployment and its foreseeable increase due to the COVID will impact families. We all know this, and children will require global and integrated solutions. Within this context, all of us have a specific role and a specific responsibility. European institutions, member states, regions, international organizations, civil society must stay and act together. We cannot risk an overturn in what we have already accomplished, but there's much to do. We must stay together and work both individually and collectively to continue this work and to overcome together the challenges we face. This is the only way we have to win this battle. At least this is the only way I know. We need to invest in the economic future for the EU, and it is crucial to invest in the well-being of all our children by bringing children's needs to the center of our stage and the center of our mindset. It is important that all member states commit to invest and to develop strategies and concrete action plans with goals, with measurable indicators, and with concrete measures to ensure that children in need do have real access to free or affordable services, such as effective and free access to high quality early education and care, education and school-based activities, at least one healthy meal each school day and health care, effective access to healthy nutrition and adequate housing. At the European level, the dice are rolled. The ambition is great. This is the time to go further. This is the time to leave no one behind, just as David Sassoli said, and this is the time to put the generation that leads and holds our future in the center of our national and European political agendas. This is a time of feasible and concrete hope. Let's build advances and commit ourselves with responsible to put children's on our first step. I end my intervention by quoting two persons. First, the United Nations Secretary General, when he says, "For every child, every right." And second, a young child who lives in Portugal, whose name is Anton, who, when we asked him what was his desire for the world, he said, "Let's push the button restart." So this is the moment. Let's restart what needs to be restarted. Let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Godinho. Indeed, let's restart. Making a very important announcement there, Ms. Godinho, that the recommendation for child guarantee will be adopted next Monday. And you've called it a victory for all of us, but most of all for the 18 million children in Europe who need this child guarantee. Keeping up the pressure, collective effort, and let's make sure no one is left behind. Very important points to make and very inspirational points to make at this stage. It's my pleasure now to introduce Mr. Nicolas Schmit, European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights. Mr. Schmit, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Dear ministers, dear Ms. Khan, and dear Anna, I want first to congratulate for the Portuguese National Day. Under this fantastic presidency, we are all Portuguese. And I think also that for this National Day, Portugal has given a tremendous gift to millions of children in Europe. So thank you very much for finding this agreement so rapidly under your presidency on the child guarantee. Now, ladies and gentlemen, dear Shada, 6 months ago, I joined UNICEF and many of you connected today to launch the third phase of the pilot child guarantee program in 7 member states. And I also want to take the occasion to thank UNICEF and particularly you, Ms. Khan, for the support, because you have helped us to make very, very rapid progress and to build this child guarantee on a very solid base. I think this is extremely important. Thank you very much for your work. A lot has happened in these six past months. The Commission presented the European Pillar of Social Rights Action Plan in March, which sets out the path for a fairer, more inclusive social Europe. And the action plan sets 3 EU-level headline targets for member states to reach. One of those is precisely to reduce the number of people at risk of poverty or social exclusion by at least 15 million by 2030, including at least 5 million children. At the end of March, we presented the Commission proposal for a Council recommendation establishing a European Child Guarantee. And again, I must say I'm very grateful to the Portuguese Presidency and to you, Anna, and to all the member states for moving so quickly to reach an agreement on this important initiative. It is true, we had no time to lose. European children's futures are depending on this initiative, and they have waited for it. At the Porto Social Summit in May, the EU institutions, social partners, and civil society signed a commitment which calls on all actors, and I quote, to promote a comprehensive approach to lift children out of poverty by prioritizing funding for children's rights and by mainstreaming the child guarantee across all policy sectors while boosting investment in sustainable jobs and social support for their parents. And of course, since November, there has been a great deal of progress made in those 7 pilot countries where UNICEF has been working closely with the local authorities to put into place policy initiatives to help children in need in a range of areas. And I thank you all for your commitment, and I look forward to hearing about your experiences during this conference. There are so many effective projects already underway, such as Let's Go Together in Croatia, where children in need can spend quality time together, develop their social skills, and borrow educational toys to play with at home. And the Baby Story scheme, which has helped so far more than 1,200 poor families in Cyprus by providing them with baby equipment, bedding, nappies, as well as mentoring. Just from these 2 examples, it is clear that these schemes are an investment and not an expenditure. Firstly, it is an investment in an inclusive social Europe that protects. And secondly, it is also an economic investment, an investment in our future. We cannot afford to leave millions of children on side, excluded from society, struggling to get an education or secure a decent job. We need those children to thrive so they become skilled adults and contribute to our economy as well as our communities. That is why our mantra is always to break the vicious cycle of disadvantage. And I like very much this expression by this young Portuguese kid saying, well, you have to push the reset button. Yes, this is true. We have to push the reset button to prepare a better future for our kids. The European Child Guarantee will make certain essential services free or affordable to children in need. That way, we remove any obstacles blocking children from getting a good education, healthy meals, medical attention, and access to extracurricular activities. We have to pay particular attention to vulnerable groups, such as Roma children or children in precarious family situations, those also in poor housing or children with a disability. Their backgrounds should not dictate the course of the rest of their lives. That's where we have to step in as policymakers, to open up doors so that nothing is beyond their reach. Next week, we are expecting, as you said already, Anna, EU ministers to formally give the green light to the European Child Guarantee. The next step will be for them to appoint national coordinators and to draft national action plans on how to implement it on the ground. The Commission stands ready to assist member states with whatever they need to make the Child Guarantee a reality and a success. Let's make this part of our legacy as policymakers. Let's lift children out of poverty. Let's give them all the opportunities we can and watch them grow into healthy, happy, and successful adults. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Commissioner Schmidt, for those very important words. You've promised that you will mainstream child guarantees across all sectors, and I think that's extremely important. Saying also national schemes are an investment in our future, the future of our children, but also the future of Europe. So we should allow and encourage and permit our children to thrive. And that there should be national coordinators and national action plans as well. So these are very important steps, because you started off by saying there's no time to lose. And indeed, there isn't. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Schmidt. Let me turn now to Afshan Khan. She's UNICEF Regional Director for Europe and Central Asia and Special Coordinator for the Refugee and Migrant Response in Europe. Afshan, the screen is yours.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure for me to co-host this meeting on behalf of UNICEF, together with the European Commission, Commissioner Schmidt and Vice President Suica, and the Portuguese Presidency of the Council of the European Union, represented today by Minister Godinho on the National Portuguese Day, and with the elements of all of the success regarding the Child Guarantee. UNICEF is committed to protecting children around the world on the issue of poverty. We have seen how the current pandemic has eroded the lives of millions of children and exacerbated risk factors for some of the poorest and most disadvantaged. The economics and social case for investing in children is clear, and it should be the key driver for Europe's recovery and resilience roadmap. If we invest in children's well-being today, we will gain both short-term and long-term benefits in terms of meeting the needs that children face today, as well as we'll have better health, better employment opportunities, and less need for assistance, and greater capacity to provide for their family and participate in society as children reach adulthood. This translates into the benefits for all of society, with increased employment rates and social costs and benefits that will be intergenerational. Childhood is a crucial and critical window of opportunity for ensuring that the costs of the pandemic will not be borne by the future generations. We need a bold response to this pandemic and to the problem of poverty and social exclusion for children, and the European Child Guarantee is Europe's response to this critical child rights issue. It's a concrete, comprehensive initiative with the potential to bridge the gap for the most disadvantaged and most in need children in Europe. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to demonstrate how the European social model can put children at its center through a strong child guarantee and through placing children at the heart of the recovery and resilience path. UNICEF is proud to partner with the European Commission in its commitment to make the European Child Guarantee a reality for all children in the European Union. We are working very closely with the governments in Bulgaria, Croatia, Germany, Greece, Lithuania, Italy, and Spain to test in practice how the child guarantee can be implemented in different contexts. I want to thank and applaud the governments of the pilot countries for their relentless commitment to improve the lives of the most disadvantaged children in their countries. We are thrilled to have high-level representatives from these countries showcasing today the work done as part of the pilot child guarantee, sharing examples, results, and lessons learned so far. It's very encouraging to see the great interest of ministers of social affairs from all the European Union in the child guarantee and those joining us today. We're pleased to welcome France and Slovenia as the two countries in line from the presidency of the Council of the European Union, confirming the importance they place in investing children in the recovery and resilience building of Europe. Allow me also to underline the crucial leadership for children's rights of the European Commission. Both the Child Rights Strategy and the European Child Guarantee proposal, which were launched on the same day, show that children are at the core of the Commission's work, with the ambition of building the best possible life for children in the European Union and across the globe. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, UNICEF is committed to continue to support your efforts and lend all the possible expertise to help you reach the very admirable goal of permanently lifting children out of poverty and social exclusion. Finally, I want to end these opening remarks by reminding all of us of Galin, the 4-year-old with autism in Bulgaria, who travels 100 kilometers to receive the needed service. Mama Gianni, who escaped conflict in his home country and arrived in Italy separated from his family. Eleni, a girl without parental care in Greece, who lives in a residential care center, and many other hundreds of thousands of disadvantaged children in Europe who need support to thrive and break the cycle of disadvantage. Let us show them today that they can count on us and that we make our promises a reality for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Afshan. Thank you very much indeed. Indeed, a bold response not only to this pandemic, but to the problem of poverty and social exclusion for children. And you've quoted some of the children who are indeed brave and inspirational for all of us. And they do require that we respond to their aspirations and their hopes. So we've heard now from the European Parliament President, David Sassoli. We've heard from Ana Mendes Godinho from Portugal. Congratulations on your National Day, by the way. I should have said so earlier. From Mr. Nicolas Schmit, the European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, and just now from Afshan Khan from UNICEF as well. And of course, we've been promised next week, next Monday, an important milestone, if I could say so, in the European Child Guarantee campaign. And so we will be watching that very closely. So thank you very much indeed to all of you who've given us a good start, I think, to this conference. So we've heard now from the policymakers. Let's hear now again from the children. So we have another video, and the children this time have been asked to respond to the question, which children or communities do you think should need the most help and what can be done to help them? Let's watch this video.
Credo siano tanti i bambini che hanno bisogno di aiuto. Penso a coloro che hanno un passato difficile a causa di contesti familiari delicati, a coloro che non si sentono pienamente parte della comunità, a coloro che hanno condizioni fisiche e mentali che rendono faticosa la quotidianità. Bisognerebbe offrire loro ascolto e protezione.
Треба идти так далеко in scuola,
Tutte le comunità
dove i bambini sono costretti a vivere una vita di discriminazione, di sofferenze e di mancanze, devono essere aiutate. Devono essere coperte le sue necessità di base e offerti strumenti come lo studio per aiutare a combattere queste disuguaglianze e offrire a tutti le stesse opportunità.
Искам да кажа, че всички общности и деца имат нужда от някаква подкрепа в живота и все ще се намери нещо, с което да им помогнеш.
Thank you very much indeed for that video as well. Once again, very moving and to the point as children and young children can be. We're moving now very quickly to the first panel. We have 3 panels this afternoon. So the first panel is about services and programs focusing on the most disadvantaged children. And we've gathered representatives from Bulgaria, Croatia, Greece, and Italy to share their experiences and to tell us about lessons learned and what went well and what was more of a challenge. So let me introduce very briefly to you these representatives. We have with us Ms. Elena Bonetti, Minister for Equal Opportunities and Family in Italy. Thank you very much for joining us, Ms. Bonetti. We had Domna Maria Michelidou, Deputy Minister of Labour and Social Affairs in Greece. Excuse me if my pronunciation was slightly wacky. Pardon me. Mr. Ivan Krastev, Deputy Minister of Labour and Social Policy from Bulgaria, and Ms. Margareta Maderic, State Secretary, Minister of Labour, Pension Systems, Family and Social Policy from Croatia. Let me now give the floor to Minister Bonetti to give us her ideas about experiences that you think are worth sharing with the rest of the company here, with the rest of the people here. Ms. Bonetti, screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear Commission, dear President, dear Minister, and dear Director. First of all, let me thank Commissioner Schmidt, as well Director Khan, for organizing such an interesting event, which provides us with the opportunity to exchange experiences, to share our perspectives, ideas on the challenges and the countless opportunities to overcome child poverty and the social exclusion offered by the future implementation of the so important European Child Guarantee based on the national pilot projects we are currently carrying out thanks to the outstanding work of UNICEF. And let me also say that I'm also particularly pleased to know that after an intense negotiation and thanks to the effort of the Commission, the Parliament, and all the Member States, the recommendation established in the European Child Guarantee will be finally adopted by the EPSCO Council next week. So this is really a good news for Europe. And this is not just the conclusion of a long strategic path started years ago, but let me say an unprecedented opportunity for all our government to take a bold and coordinated action to break the cycle of disadvantages for our children once and for all. So really, thank you very much for this opportunity. And now to present our pilot project in collaboration with UNICEF, I switch to Italian and to present the situation and what we are doing to implement this project. In Italia, oltre 1.300.000 bambini vivono.
In Italy, more than 1,300,000 children live in absolute poverty conditions. This is a figure, unprecedented figure. And since 2005, we had never seen such a figure. The highest number concern all the families in our country, but especially the families that have children, especially within these families, the biggest ones, and migrants families. It is clear that the COVID-19 pandemic contributed to exacerbate this phenomenon by increasing the social and economic gap which already existed among families in our country, and it made several households much more vulnerable against processes which let them achieve social exclusion and poverty conditions. And so it is fundamental, first of all, to ensure more than before the access to basic access that can make it possible to overcome the vulnerability conditions and to better invest on their potential of resilience to this and can better allow them to acquire independence. For Italy, it is very important to fill a very significant gap which exists at territorial level. In the Italian regions, in terms of the services provided to the families and their children, especially the families that live in vulnerability conditions. It is a geographical gap which increases marginalization for several children and which increases also social issue for their families. The Italian pilot project on the child guarantee focuses on minors living in vulnerability conditions and households having multidimensional problems. It is a multi-sectorial engagement which will involve UNICEF and Italian government, but also all those realities in our country which act through social services. I'm thinking of social economy, third sector world. So supporting families means to invest on the future of our communities, our people, in order for this future to be more inclusive, especially for new generations. An element on which we want to build our pilot project is to focus and strengthen the solidarity ties among families by experimenting also family accompaniment processes that can increase the support and co-responsibility. The model will be based on an analysis of best practices already existing at local level, and it will extend to the different territorial situations. Also, on the basis of new data, we can represent all over Europe an innovative model that, in our opinion, can be very useful. A second topic I would like to focus on, and then I conclude, is education and poverty, which has been increased during the pandemic because of the difficulty to have access to school. And so we are starting multidimensional actions which focus on a national plan for for children that we adopted in Italy. For the first time, the plan involved children and students. So the plan was based on their rights and their opportunities, and the idea of introducing guidelines that fully involve children and reactivate the empowerment mechanism of the youngest. The new plan is in line with the child guarantee, and so the actions which have been identified together with the implementation of the pilot project will be constantly measured and integrated, and as a matter of with the child guarantees, in order to harmonize everything with the member states. One last action that we want to implement and which will be launched in July next to our pilot project is the first part of family policies, the Family Act in our country, with the introduction of the universal and single grant, which will increase for 2 million households and their revenue, especially for biggest families that are more vulnerable. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bonetti. Thank you very much for those different initiatives and explaining to us in such detail. Let me turn now to the Greek Deputy Minister of Labour and Social Affairs. Please, screen is yours.
Hello from Athens, from unfortunately almost raining Athens. So I hope that next week in Portugal is going to be much better, warmer and sunnier than here. So a big thank you once more, a big thank you to the Commissioner, a big thank you to the Presidency, and of course a big thank you to UNICEF for actually making this happen. Because horizontally, but also specifically in our case, I'm sure that if we did not have this institutional partner, and of course the support of the Commission and the target of the Child Guarantee, then none of this would have happened. And of course, the beneficiaries of this is not us making the world or our countries or generally child protection better, but the beneficiary is the child itself, not children, but each individual child that now and for the foreseeable future will have concrete benefits from the policies that we are applying. So I'm very, very glad as well to see the recommendation being adopted next week in the Council, as Anna said. And it is a big victory for all of us. And I was quite taken by what Anna said before about, we're not those who make miracles happen, but we do make actually the impossible happen. And this restart, this collective restart that we're doing all together, I think, I hope, but also I think is going to be felt by the generations to come. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm not just theoretically optimistic. I'm very optimistic because I've seen things happen, and I've seen things happen in my country where we had for years upon years the problem of institutionalized kids. I'm sorry, one second. We had the problem of institutionalized kids, and it was a long-standing problem. It was a historical problem that had transformed itself into a structural problem. So with the collaboration of UNICEF, we've managed to transform the whole environment, transform every bit of the ecosystem of child institutionalization here, and make sure that already our new plan is working. So what was happening? We were a very liberal European country that unfortunately suffered from a lot of kids being in institutions. We had thousands of kids in institutions, both of typical development and with disabilities. And this was the result of years of problematic public administration that had led to institutions being able to act completely independently without any kind of supervision and without any kind of regulatory framework to establish what the best practice for each kid individually is. So now we have organized and we are running within these less than a year. We started our new program July 2020. And if it was not for the Child Guarantee, the most vulnerable, the most institutionalized of kids would still be inside. We managed to deinstitutionalize more than 700 kids and make sure that we find families for them. We have another 1,600 remaining. And the main innovation that we did was to digitally and very transparently transform a system where the institutionalization of kids was happening by institution to a centralized digital and state, not just supervised, but state-run mechanism. So now we have created a very solid system where we know for the first time how many kids we have in institutions in the country. We know, and we have digitized platforms of all the individuals who are interested in becoming parents or foster parents for these kids. And we are running completely, again, digitized procedures that are very clear, have very strict timelines for the matching to take place. So nothing is left in the sphere of each institution concluding adoptions or fosterings by itself. It's a very clearly regulated, but also homogeneously run program that manages all adoptions and fosterings. And because fostering was a notion that was not known in Greece we do not have networks of foster children, of foster parents, I'm sorry. And exactly because of this reason, many kids were remaining institutionalized. And what do I mean by that? That they did not have clear and clean legal papers to proceed into adoptions. So their only option, and the only option for the state to guarantee the best interest for the child, is adoption. We had, but we've done it to ensure, or we are doing it, to ensure that we make available the information of what it is to be a foster parent, and that we do ease the entire procedure. So we have started through the Child Guarantee a communication campaign. We have started with the great expertise of UNICEF and an online platform that, of course, the state is subsidizing benefits for all the foster parents and UNICEF, and with the assistance of the Commission, we managed to establish from last week, it's actually working, our platform that grants the benefits to all foster parents. We are proceeding into legal changes, extending and amending the age limits, extending them by 50% both ways, higher but also lower as well. And we are moving towards a system where we're shifting mindsets, I think, from the best interest of the family to the best interest of the kid. Because in our country, that was the problem. The main problem was that the entire state was focused on the best interest of the family, which was to secure a kid in perpetuity. Now we are making sure, and that's what the child guarantee does, right? It puts the child as the beneficiary itself, not the subject of protection, but it's the child itself. And that's what we managed to do. I think we are very close to completion with regards to the institutionalization of kids. We have a little bit of work remaining for older kids that cannot be deinstitutionalized through the formal adoption or fostering system, but through semi-independent living apartments that we are working through the Recovery and Resistance Program as well, and with the, of course, technical assistance of UNICEF and the Child Guarantee Scheme. And we are continuing with our next project, which is increasing, and that's where I'm stopping because I can talk forever.
We could listen to you forever.
And improving the services of nurseries, because we want to give a head start to all kids. We want to secure equality of opportunity, and we want to disentangle the family of the income of the family with the prospects of the kids. Right. For us, it's very important to have these two as independent features. We don't want the kid to be tied to the background necessarily and the income of the family. So we are providing better services there. And within this, we're also providing for tracing of disabilities so that we are not led into institutionalization. Thank you. Good luck on Monday. Thank you very much. I feel very proud to be in this team at this moment that we've managed to go on with this. Thank you.
And we're really full of admiration for all the innovation that you're undertaking in Greece, the data, the digitalization, the innovation that's going on. Thank you very much indeed for sharing those experiences.
But it's only because I mean it. I don't have any reason to flatter anyone. I mean it. It's only because of our collaboration and the initiative.
It's all about collective effort, isn't it? Thank you so much indeed. Let me turn now to Ivan Krastev from Bulgaria. Mr. Krastev, the screen is yours. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Dear Minister Gudinho, dear Commissioner, dear Regional Director Khan, I would like, dear Ministers and participants, I would like to thank first of all the Portuguese Presidency for its huge, excuse me, I have a problem with my voice right now, just a second. Happy National Day to Portugal. And I saw you use the sign language, so a big love for all you've done through these several months. It's a huge step forward, and I hope when we see each other on one day, we'll endorse this very important step for the future of Europe. And also, my thanks goes to Commissioner Schmidt, and I believe you've been the driving force behind these very important flagship initiatives of the Commission that will hopefully transform the future of the children in Europe in the next generation. Bulgaria highly appreciates the initiative of the European Commission to ensure the welfare of children. This goal is also a priority of the Ministry of Labour and Social Policy, especially in the difficult socio-economic situation we are put in because of the COVID pandemic. The past year was particularly hard for us, facing the numerous problems and affecting families and their lifestyles, hampering the social and economic development of countries around the world, and has had a significant impact, especially on children, on young people, on vulnerable families. In Bulgaria, as in other countries, the most vulnerable children, these who are up to 3 years old, children living in poverty, children with disabilities and children from large families and single parent families are among the most severely affected by the consequences of the pandemic. As Ms. Mihailidou just pointed out, we as in Greece had a different excuse me?
We didn't say anything, Minister.
Yes, as in Greece, we had a huge reform going on for the past decade, thanks to the exclusive support, and it was a very important contribution on behalf of UNICEF through this decade to implement the institutionalization of all people, of all children who are living in large institutions. This reform is almost over, and the success of it is often put forward as a best practice, which we would like to further develop using the huge opportunities that the child guarantee will now provide us. Unfortunately, the latest data show that the share of children at risk of poverty and social exclusion in Bulgaria is higher than the average level of the population. About 27% of the children in Bulgaria live in such conditions, which is a huge challenge for our government and for our country to overcome. Preventing and combating the social exclusion of children is essential for social progress and sustainable development of the country. Social exclusion has a determinant effect on children's current and future opportunities and on their ability to contribute to today's and tomorrow's society. Children who are socially excluded are less likely to do well in school and enjoy good health and then their wealthier peers. There is a strong link between the social exclusion of children and the lack of access to basic services. Children living in poverty or particularly disadvantaged are more likely to face barriers to accessing services that are key to their well-being and the development of social, cognitive, and emotional skills. To meet these challenges, Bulgaria is one of the 7 member states to implement the UNICEF Child Guarantee Pilot Project. And I must point out from a personal point of view, being among the people who are initially supporting within the SND group in the European Parliament the development of the child guarantee, I'm greatly honored now to be tasked with its implementation. This project, which we will implement with UNICEF support, is aimed at national and local authorities as well as NGOs and in cross-sectoral interaction in tackling child poverty and social exclusion and ensures the high quality of health, education and social services for the children in Bulgaria. The special focus of the pilot project in our country is on children with disabilities and children living in precarious situations, in particular the children and families from Roma background, which is also a huge challenge for us in particular. The pilot activities will be implemented in 10 municipalities on the territory of 3 regions in Bulgaria, and the total budget aims at about 2.6 million euro. But the budget is not the important thing. The fact is that we aim to reach more than almost 6,500 children with these pilot initiatives, about 7,000 parents and carers. We also have a network of foster parents, which we developed with the support of UNICEF, and almost 600 professionals working on the ground in foster care and in community-based services to support these vulnerable children. Based on the analysis, the project team will work with regional and local authorities, health, education, child protection, and social services. And we are also setting up coordination and monitoring committees, which will be established on national, regional, and municipal level to improve the interaction and strengthen the cross-sectoral cooperation between all stakeholders. The implementation of the child guarantee recommendation will add value to the development of innovative approaches and the improvement of planning of national policies to support children and families. The selection of Bulgaria is one of the member states in which to implement the pilot projects in connection with its implementation is an expression of great importance that our country attaches to the policies for children and families as a leading priority. On the other hand, it is an opportunity for us to continue a deeper cooperation with all stakeholders in the process of formulating, implementing, and monitoring policies to promote child welfare. In conclusion, I would like to point out that we also value greatly the support we receive on behalf of the European Commission. The fact that almost 5% of future ESF was funding will be aimed at implementing the measures which fall within the scope of the child guarantee. That's been really important for us because all these reforms I've already mentioned have been done also thanks to the Bulgaria's membership in the European Union, and thanks to the support of the Commission and its services. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you to our services. We hope we will continue with this cooperation we have so far in the future. To conclude, I would just quote a stance from the Portuguese national anthem due to the national. May Europe cry out to the whole earth. It says in the Portuguese anthem. The children must be our top priority. I would add to this, if Minister would bring along. Thank you once again, and see you soon on the summit.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Krastev. Thank you very much indeed. Let me turn now to Ms. Margareta Maderic from Croatia. The screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, representatives of the member states, members of the European Commission, dear parliamentarians, representatives of the civil society, dear children, ladies and gentlemen. In the light of the forthcoming adoption of the European Parliament resolution on the European Child Guarantee, we are very glad that Croatia is one of the countries where the pilot program, phase-3, testing the child guarantee is being implemented. In spite of all other intensive efforts and development of services, programs and interventions funded through state and local budgets as well as EU funds, we are aware that further action is needed to guarantee that every child in poverty can have access to free healthcare, education and childcare, no matter in which part of Croatia they live. In Croatia, early and preschool education is provided in kindergartens for children from 6 months of age until they start primary school. The preschool program is mandatory for all children in the year before starting elementary school, and it is free for all children. Equal access to services in all areas of Croatia, especially in rural and less developed areas, remains a challenge. Croatia was given the opportunity to implement the pilot project together with UNICEF to develop a model of new services and best practices for children and their families. The aim of the project is to access to integrated, multi-sectoral, adequately funded community services. It is implemented in the area of Međimurje country, region with the highest rate of beneficiaries of guaranteed minimum benefit and low access to child protection and family support services. This pilot program is a result of our long-term successful cooperation with UNICEF in Croatia with the aim to ensure the highest quality services throughout Croatia. And we are grateful to UNICEF to quality cooperation and assistance in shaping the child guarantee. The program focuses on three components: access to child protection services and family support, access to preschool education, and access to early intervention services. To ensure access to child protection services and family support, we will ensure framework for coordinated provision of outreach services within communities at high risk of poverty and social exclusion. To establish access to vulnerable children to primary play and learning, we will strengthen the capacities of kindergarten professionals to improve their practices to include Roma children, children with disabilities, and other vulnerable children into kindergartens. Also, to enable play and learning for as many children as possible before 2026, when the government aims to have built enough kindergartens, new opportunities for pre-primary activities will be established where the children of all kindergarten will have access to pre-primary play and learning close to their place of living. It is very important to support the early stages of a child development access to early childhood intervention for children with disabilities across the EU into preparation. Therefore, the pilot program will focus on the development and safety of the integrated early childhood intervention service. The program will ensure that EU institutions and other EU member states exchange ideas and best practice and directly learn from experience in Croatia. This will help to shape the future of the child guarantee and its implementation across the EU over the coming years. Finally, I want to highlight the importance of reaching out and broadening the access to services for the most disadvantaged and excluded children, such as children with disabilities and children in precarious family situations, and Roma children that are in focus of our child guarantee program. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed as well. Now we're running a little short of time, so I'm going to jump right into the second panel, which is about accelerating and implementing policies for ending child poverty and exclusion. And I beg forgiveness from Mr. Nacho Alvarez. I'm going to take him a bit later than in the program because Ms. Julianne Sifat, State Secretary from the Federal Ministry of Family Affairs, Senior Citizens, Women and Youth from Germany has to leave at 16:15, so I will take her first. And after that, I'm going to turn the screen to Ms. Vilma Ogien, Deputy Minister of Social Security and Labor in Lithuania. And then I will turn to Mr. Alvarez and also to Mr. Orlando. So forgive me for this change, but we are pressed for time and we have to do this. So let me now turn to Ms. Sievert. Please, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Minister Mendes Godinho, Commissioner Schmidt, Mrs. Khan, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the UNICEF Regional Office for Europe and Central Asia, the Portuguese Presidency of the Council of the European Union, and the European Commission for organizing this event, just a few days before the Council recommendation establishing a European child guarantee will be adopted. The participation of high-ranking guests shows the top priority given to the subject, the fight against child poverty and social exclusion. From the beginning, the German federal government has supported the European Child Guarantee. It was a priority during our presidency of the Council of the European Union last year. It will encourage us all to mitigate the impact the coronavirus crisis has had on families throughout Europe. In the past years, we implemented a set of measures to strengthen families and fight child poverty. During the pandemic, our set of support measures for families proved very valuable. We said we could refine these measures to the special needs during the pandemic. The following actions have been taken to mitigate the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on families and to cushion losses of income. Families get a one-off child bonus. In 2020, families got 300 euros for each child, and in 2021, they got another 150 euro per child. The bonus is especially important for families with low income, since it is no offset against other social benefits. Another measure taken to support low-income families was an emergency child supplement. Families that suffered sudden income losses due to the coronavirus pandemic could benefit from the monthly child supplement of about 180 euro in a speedy procedure. Then we reached out to single parents who suffered most from the shutdown of childcare and schools. They were allowed to use childcare that was limited to special urgencies, and we doubled the tax credit for single parents known as relief amount in income tax. Most parents tried to juggle their many duties: childcare, homeschooling, and work. Those who cannot work due to school and daycare closures can receive a compensation of about 67% of the earnings lost. And we tripled the days parents can take off from work to care for sick children or children at home due to closed childcare facilities, or schools to 30 days per parent and per year. With these measures, we achieved that almost no low-income family had to suffer from loss of income. Children, young people, and families have faced many restrictions over the past year, and they have suffered. We are facing a loss of education and a loss of social ties. This holds true especially for young people in difficult life situations. Families who had to deal with all of this directly need help and recreational options to regain their strength. This is why young children, young people, and families now need special attention. The federal government of Germany therefore launched a 2 billion euro action program in May to help children and young people to make up lost ground. 2 billion euros for children, young people, and their families. With that amount, we want to help them to find their way back to a carefree existence in the post-pandemic period. 1 billion euros will be provided to support measures to catch up on lost schooling in key subjects, such as German, mathematics, and foreign languages. This is an important signal before the end of the school year. Another 1 billion euros will be used for promoting early childhood education and care, holiday activity programs and family retreats, additional social works and volunteer. 1,000 additional childcare facilities offering special language support services are to benefit from funding. They are attended by an above average share of children with language support needs, mostly in socially disadvantaged areas. To overcome the consequences of the crisis, the social skills of children and young people need to be strengthened. School children in particular must not be left alone with their concerns and the pressure to catch up on what they have missed at school as swiftly as possible. This also includes social work in schools, which offer services for young people with an increased need of support. A wider range of more affordable holiday activity programs, encounters, and physical and sport activities are to help children find their way back to a carefree existence in the post-pandemic period. In August 21, children and young people from disadvantaged families will receive a child recreation bonus of 100 euros per child. The bonus helps disadvantaged families with low income to provide children and young people with targeted support for holiday and recreational activities. We want to create prospects for children and young people. They deserve it because they had to put up with a lot during the pandemic. This holds true for Germany and the European Union. The European Child Guarantee is an important milestone on this path. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mrs. Seifert. Let's turn now to Ms. Vilma Ogen, Deputy Minister of Social Security and Labour from Lithuania. Please, the screen is yours.
Hello, everybody, dear Presidency, Commissioner, Director, colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank you for organizing this important discussion on equality and non-discrimination, and especially for possibility to share our experience. Childhood and adolescence are periods when habits of healthy lifestyle are formed and healthy living is learned. During this period, it is very important to provide children with correct information about a healthy diet and its importance to our health. School meals are an integral part of children's education, so by providing free meals, the state contributes to children's education and support for families raising children. We are happy that Lithuania already meets the child guarantee requirement for free meals for children in need, and it's gradually moving towards universal free school meals. In Lithuania, since 2006, free meals are provided for children from low-income families. But since 2020, free meals for children does not matter. Families' incomes are gradually introduced to reduce social exclusion and develop children's healthy eating skills in the earliest possible age. Last year, we launched a pilot project which involved more than 5,000 children from 51 different municipalities and total of 314 schools. During that project, all preschoolers got free lunch organized as full or partial self-service like buffet. After that, from 1st September 2020, the right to free lunch is granted to all preschoolers and first grade pupils in all schools. About 56,000 preschoolers and first grade pupils received such free lunch, which makes more than 97% of all children of this age. In order to develop healthy eating and lifestyle habits for a larger number of pupils, to reduce the social exclusions of pupils and thus to mitigate the social consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, from 1st September 2021, free lunches are given also to all second grade pupils. This is a new phase in the introduction of universal free school meals. After the start of quarantine in Lithuania, pupils get meals package home instead of daily lunch at school. In order to ensure that children get free meals during quarantine, a working group with the participation of Social Ministry, Health Ministry, Education Ministry, and local municipalities prepared methodological recommendations for the organization of free meals for pupils during quarantine. In addition, changes were made on the procedures of organizing children catering approved by Minister of Health. Changes helped to ensure that hot meals can be provided home too, because that was not possible before. During the quarantine period, free meals were provided to pupils in all 60 municipalities. The whole school community helped to prepare and deliver food baskets to the parents, and in some places the elderships were also used to help. And finally, the gradual transition to universal free school meals not only helps to shape and consolidate healthy eating habits, but also contributes to the reduction of social exclusion and discrimination of children due to the financial situation of their families. In Lithuania, free meals for pupils are assessed positively. Social exclusion is reduced, pupils' healthy eating habits and eating culture are developed, pupils became more independent, and parents are facilitated to combine work with family responsibilities, because it helps to facilitate parents' daily routines so they can spend more time and money on raising their children. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Ogen. Now, Mr. Nacho Alvarez, excuse me, mea culpa, I should have given you the floor, but you've been very patient and very kind to wait until now. So the screen is yours. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank the European Commission and especially the Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, Mr. Nicolas Schmit, and UNICEF for giving me the opportunity to participate in this high-level event. In my intervention, I would like to address Spain's experience on policies regarding social housing and access to other basic services in support for children and their families living in precarious conditions. However, it is important to begin by recognizing the current situation. Spain is one of the European countries with the highest rate of child poverty. Before the outbreak of the pandemic, the rate of poverty and exclusion for those people, those under 18 years, stood at 30%. In other words, at least 2.5 million children and teenagers in our country were in that situation. Among them, we have particularly vulnerable groups, such as children and teenagers of migrant origins, children in single-parent families, or Roma children, for example. However, the government of Spain is now firmly committed to confront this situation. To do this, a High Commissioner for the fight against childhood poverty and a General Directorate for the Rights of Children have been created. In particular, the strategy of this government to reduce child poverty combines cross-cutting policies with other focused policies that together cover multiple dimensions, most of them linked to the future child guarantee. 2 years ago, the Spanish government approved the so-called national strategy for the prevention and fight against poverty and social exclusion. The aim of this strategy is to coordinate policies in all the dimensions and levels of government needed to jointly tackle reasons behind the high rates of poverty and exclusion in Spain. In accordance with this strategy, policies adopted during this year, 2021, in order to specifically fight child poverty include, among others, the unfolding of the minimum living income, a new benefit at the state level for families living in extreme poverty. Related with this minimum living income, our data shows that 2 out of 3 households receiving this social transfer include at least 1 child. And moreover, the amount of the benefit increased for families with children with an additional supplement for single-parent families. Also, investments in a steady universalization of early childhood education through public education, together with the expansion of the budget for vocational training and also for general education grants. And third, a plan that ensures support for the conciliation needs of families with children under 14 years through the hiring of professional caregivers. In addition, and during the last year, we have increased by 60% the budget for specific programs aimed to fight child poverty. Is the case of the so-called Beca program, the acronym in Spanish for the school holidays, Keep Learning. That is a program funded by an annual transfer from the central government to the autonomous communities, and its goal is to guarantee the right to have a meal and to access to educational and inclusive leisure activities for children in vulnerable families during the school holidays. Last year, that program also was complemented during the lockdowns of school by an extraordinary fund approved by our government to guarantee the right to adequate food for children living in poverty. The national strategy against poverty and social exclusion also comprised policies oriented towards ensuring the access of decent housing, and especially for families with children. In this field, several measures were taken during the last year in order to prevent the worst consequences of the pandemic. These measures include, for example, the interruption of eviction of families in vulnerable situations, the automatic extension during 6 months of rental contracts during the pandemic period, a financial assistance program to help families in a vulnerable situation due to the pandemic crisis with rental payments, and also forbearance in mortgage payments for low-income families affected by the crisis too. Thanks to all these measures, the number of evictions during 2020 dropped by 45%. But however, it is important to intensify our efforts in this field. Indeed, in our view, the guarantee of decent housing for families with children should be at the core of our fight to prevent child poverty and exclusion. And finally, it is important to highlight several long-term initiatives. First of all, the recent approval of the organic law for the comprehensive protection of children against violence, thanks to which Spain has adopted the most demanding international standards in relation to the protection of minors. And moreover, we are preparing the new Spanish strategy of the rights of childhood and adolescence in line with the European strategy on the rights of the child. Furthermore, the High Commissioner has launched the Zero Child Poverty National Alliance, together with other public administrations and NGOs and also corporations. We still have a long way to make zero child poverty and exclusion a reality. We know that, but I am convinced that by working together and with the support of the European Child Guarantee, we will achieve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Alvarez, and we are looking forward to you achieving it. You've outlined a number of very ambitious goals, and once again, I thank you for your patience in waiting a little bit longer than you'd intended to. Thank you very much indeed. Let me turn now to Mr. Andrea Orlando. He's Minister for Labour and Social Policies from Italy. Mr. Orlando, the screen is yours.
Grazie, cara Ministra Godinho, caro
Thank you, dear Minister Godinho, dear Commissioner Schmidt, dear Director Khan. I am pleased to speak at this new event on child poverty, which brings us closer to the moment when next Monday the recommendation on the child guarantee will be approved. And we've been working on it for some time. Thanks to the reservation of at least 5% of the European Social Fund to the Next Generation EU resources and to the indications of the recommendation, the EU countries will be able to count on new and greater resources and especially on an updated strategy to fight against the vicious circle of social disadvantage. Because it is now clear, and there are several studies that confirm that investing in the fight against juvenile disadvantage, so the disadvantage that especially children suffer from, is the most effective way to build a fairer, more inclusive and more resilient society. And I would like to thank the Commission for this initiative. And I know the energy that Commissioner Schmid has devoted to it. And I would like to thank the Portuguese Presidency, which managed to get the recommendation approved at the end of its term. So bravo, Anna. Italy, as the country chosen for one of the pilot projects to be developed and implemented together with UNICEF, has defined in recent months the scope of this experimentation and the survey. We are starting these very days, and we will work on the implementation of the pilot projects in the next 9 months. The working group set up ad hoc with all the parties involved has indeed completed the planning of the first level of research, the analysis and the mapping of policies and programs, as well as the identification of monitoring and data collection mechanisms at the national and local level, and this for all vulnerable areas and groups. Subsequently, the second level of the pilot project was defined. That is to say, the identification of initiatives and models for combating poverty and social exclusion among children, with a specific focus on minors in particularly vulnerable conditions. Specifically, the intervention models that will be implemented and observed during the pilot project of the next few months concern 5 thematic areas: fighting against educational poverty, family support, participation of children and young people, family fostering, accompaniment towards autonomy for young people coming out of care institutions. I would like to focus on one project in particular, and the project that focuses on children who have left their family of origin once they turn 18. In particular, young adults who, on reaching the age of majority, do not believe that returning to their family of origin is possible or desirable. So the project will achieve an effective integration of the already existing tools to support the path towards autonomy for young people living the care of the social services. The national experimentation for the so-called care leavers defines a model that is already in place. Care leavers define a model of intervention that starts from the definition of a personalized project with the active involvement of the boy or the girl as soon as they turn 17 and the support of an accompanying figure in addition to the social services operators, the so-called tutor. Together with the tutor and the social worker, the boy or girl can choose whether to continue his or her studies or to start a job placement program. In order to support this choice, this pilot project provides young people with a well-equipped toolbox, access to a guaranteed minimum income if the conditions are met, or otherwise an independence grant, 780 euros per month for 12 months until the age of 21, and access to support to the right to study. They can also take advantage of the youth guarantee and job placement through the job centers, and they can also benefit from assistance in finding decent housing through public housing or free market. As a lesson learned from this first phase, it emerged that adopting a flexible model that involves stakeholders is particularly fruitful and positive. This approach, first of all, allows us to exploit The positive experiences that can therefore be shared, and I'm talking about experiences that have already been implemented by certain stakeholders. Moreover, it makes it possible to start a process to update and adapt the measures implemented and tested to date in the light of the new needs and requirements which have emerged overwhelmingly with the pandemic. At the same time, this approach guarantees the active involvement right from the phase of co-designing and the defining governance, as well as in the choice of models to be tested and of the territories in which to experiment and of the actors, both institutional and other actors. I'm referring to local authorities, schools, healthcare, the third sector, families, associations, families and children, who must be at the forefront in defining and implementing the interventions, including in the experimental and innovative forms. The aim is to define and disseminate a widely shared intervention model. On the basis of these considerations, it would be desirable, in my opinion, for the next pilot projects that the adoption of a participatory model, referring at least to the qualified actors in the sector, should take place from the earliest stages of the design of this pathway. I would also like to inform you that Italy is about to launch an action plan for childhood and adolescence in accordance with the principles of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. The plan will be the natural framework of principles, interventions and actions within which the future national action plan set for by the child guarantee will be detailed. I would like to thank you for your attention and have a fruitful work and discussion in this very interesting event. Thank you.
Thinking about children living in poverty and facing discrimination makes me angry because we live in a world with so many resources and we are more than capable enough to grant every child a happy and safe life, but instead a great majority of people doesn't even want to think about it.
Ίσως αισθάνομαι πολύ άσχημα και πολύ λυπημένη, γιατί σκέφτομαι ότι αυτό το παιδί θα μπορούσε να είμαι είτε εγώ είτε ο αδελφός μου. Επομένως, το γεγονός αυτό με στεναχωρεί πάρα πολύ. Παρ' όλα αυτά, θεωρώ πως αυτή η στεναχώρια που μου προκαλείται είναι στην πραγματικότητα ένα κίνητρο προκειμένου να προσπαθήσω και εγώ όσο μπορώ να βελτιώσω αυτή την κατάσταση και να συμβάλλω στη δημιουργία ενός καλύτερου κόσμου για αυτά τα παιδιά.
Те няма нищо и аз имам много и те всеки ден трябва да си лягат гладни, пък аз имам достатъчно храна, достатъчно неща и се чувствам зле, като целят такива деца.
Mi sono guardami problem con discriminație mania voie ultima da se prilagode na nekoga ili nešto što je drugačije.
So the children there responding to the question, how do you feel, what do you feel when you think about child poverty and inclusion? And one response was, there are resources, I don't know why we don't use them. So that's one of the challenges that they've set us. Now, we're moving to panel 3 of this very busy and interesting afternoon. And one of the 3 objectives of this meeting is to engage additional member states beyond the 7 pilot countries around lessons learned, ideas for the future, and the operationalization of the European Child Guarantee in their countries and regions. So let's hear from them about a little bit their thoughts about what they've heard during this session and whether they're inspired to replicate some of the schemes and the projects that we've heard. So let me turn now first to Madame Karine Lalieu. She's Minister of Pensions and Social Integration here in Belgium. So Madame Lalieu, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Merci. Chers collègues, merci pour cette invitation, cet échange et l'opportunité.
Dear colleagues, thank you for this invitation, this exchange.
Discussion. Tout d'abord, je tiens évidemment à féliciter les
I
organisateurs.
first wish to congratulate the organizers for the organization of this important meeting. Social European agenda is very heavy, and for me, it's very good news. Poverty and social inequalities are the first concern of the I would say of the European citizen, and it's something we have to listen to. COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the inequalities and has even worsened them, namely for the precarity and poverty of the children. The accessibility to essential services like childcare, but also school meals, free school meals, was no longer accessible, and it increased a care and pay workload for the families, but also mainly for the women. We know that there's a lot of single-parent families in our countries. It increased, obviously, also wasn't the difficulties of these women, but also it reduced their opportunities to be on the labor market. The children from precarious families were also penalized because they had no longer access to education instruction because they had no material, for example, at home, like performing computers or internet connections. Precarious families also live in small housing, too small housing, which means a lot of tensions in the family, which had a direct impact on the well-being, physical and mental well-being of the children, of the young people. You have, in Belgium, there has been a very strong increase of violence on women in families with children. It's obviously an issue we have to tackle. The recommendation of the Council on the guarantees, child guarantee, will be approved next week by EPSO Council. Then it will be up to the member states to implement this guarantee through concrete measures and political measures. This process is going to be very inspiring and exciting at the European level and also the Belgian level. The child guarantee will be a complement to the ambition of the European Pillar for Social Rights to take at least 5 million children out of poverty in Europe by 2030. This recommendation is indeed seen as a complement in the fight against poverty for children in order to effectively break the cycle of poverty between the generations. As I often tend to say, in Belgium to my colleagues and to our citizens, we no longer want poor children of today to be the poor adults of tomorrow. It's too often the case in Belgium and in the European countries. It is complementary, this guarantee, child guarantee, because it is essential to see the situation of the child as a whole. What do I mean? To have a comprehensive view. I mean, the child in his family. Sometimes a single parent family is mostly at risk of poverty. 27% of single parent families are in situation of deprivation, material deprivation. The precarity of women is a real concern for us. So we need a systemic approach of poverty, which tackles the causes, like weak income, too low income for a whole part of the population. I mean, income from work, like a minimum wage, and also the family allowance, social allowances. It's also a complement because we need a series of other European recommendations, like the minimum income in the framework of a guideline, or the quality of public services is also of utmost importance. We have to be coherent in all our policies and prevent the social impact for the most disadvantaged people in all the different areas. And I think of one specific area, which means the macro budget aspects and what Europe is asking for us tomorrow.
Thank you.
As a recommendation itself is saying, the systems of social protection have to be suited and should be here for accessible to everybody. Do I have to stop?
Madame Lalieu, thank you so much indeed. We will be moving on, but we have taken everything you've said, and you've really focused on violence against women and children and the problem of single parent families. So thank you very much indeed for making those very, very important and pertinent points. Let me move on now to Mr. Adrien Taquet, State Secretary for Childhood and Family in France. Monsieur Taquet, l'écran est à vous.
Bonjour à tous.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Very well, thank you.
I try to keep on time. So good afternoon, dear Elena, dear Julian. Thank you to the Commissioner, Schmidt Commissioner, for his invitation to participate to this exchange. Thank you to the UNICEF, which has been a constructive partner over the last few years. And thank you to Ana Mendes Godinho, to our counterpart through the action of the Portuguese Presidency of Europe. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be able to talk with you of this project of European child guarantee, which is moving forward. And we should be happy of that. And also congratulate that childhood should be at the core of the European agency. It's a good thing when you know how the emergency of the situation in each of our countries and also at the European level. Because as you know, it's almost 18 million children in the European Union who live in danger of poverty and social exclusion. And this situation, I guess, must have been worsened during the social and health crisis. Things that you have already mentioned, you've mentioned the action you took during this time. And it's something which cannot be accepted that within our continent, such big inequalities should reach our children, who will be the adults of tomorrow. So our action should go through this quarantine in France. So without further ado, I know several countries have already started this experimentation. And thank you for this sharing moment so that we can all benefit from the breakthroughs. This pilot, France is not part of the pilot groups. I have to say, I don't know why, but I think we have also already adopted the philosophy of child guarantee in France, even before this pilot group was implemented. We are fully committed. We have been fully committed since 2017 against the fight against the destiny inequality. We believe with our President Emmanuel Macron that we have to fight against inequality when they start, at their start, and not wait until they are reduced. And you should really start fighting them as a root of this inequality. So after 2017, several measures have been taken, which also are part of this philosophy of child guarantee. We divided by two the number of children in each class in the most disadvantaged neighborhood, and that even from the kindergarten, and we are also implementing it in the primary school, in the framework of the national strategy of prevention and fight against poverty. We started implemented in 2018. We developed a free breakfast device at school. In some neighborhoods in France, some children come to school in the morning, like 25% of children come to school without having had any breakfast. And it can have an impact on their food balance and also on their cognitive, on their learning capacity. And during the crisis, I developed an operation together with the public authority and the private companies in order to provide for the urgent needs of something like 50,000 infants and babies with the distribution of kits for families who live in precarity, very precarious families. It's a policy we have been leading over the last 2 years from around the 1,000 first days of the child life, starting from the 4th month of pregnancy until the age of 2. And we know that it has a basic impact on the life of these children. All these actions have effect. They are long-term actions, obviously. We keep on accelerating them. And it also corresponds to the mindset of your guarantee. And as to conclude, I would also like to say that within 2 weeks, I shall present a law project on a specific category of children. I say specific because the path of their life is often difficult, more difficult than for other children. That children who are in institutions. We are starting a law project in order to improve the life of these children, so that their life, that they have a normal child life, not more and not less. It seems very simple, but it is also very complex. We'll do our best in order to improve their life. So, dear friends, dear colleagues, so far for these few words, I think that we now have 9 months to issue our action plan, which means that in 9 months, it will be up to France to preside the European Union. So you can be sure that we'll keep on working in that direction with our efforts, the children's rights, and mainly the child guarantee.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Taquet. And important that you make that commitment because France, as you said, will be in the presidency chair as of January 2022. And it's interesting, isn't it, how small things that we think like breakfast and a proper meal can have such an impact on children's cognitive abilities and their future. So thank you for pointing that out as well. Let me turn now to Ms. Florica Kereches. She's president of the National Authority for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Children and Adoptions from Romania. Ms. Florica, screen is yours.
Thank you very much. In Romania, as in many other countries, we have been witnessing how the impact of the COVID-19 crisis disproportionately affected children, deepening pre-existing vulnerabilities and increasing the risk of not reaching their full potential. While doing our best to mitigate the effects of the pandemics, to protect the health of the population and to safeguard the jobs, our government also acknowledges the importance of putting the basis for a post-crisis context where children, especially the most vulnerable of them, are more resilient and fully enjoy their rights. Romania started its child care system reform over 20 years ago. While we realized outstanding results in various aspects, we are aware that for translating the principles of children first and leave no child behind into practice, we need to invest further joint efforts and resources. One of our most important commitments was to accelerate the process of deinstitutionalization. In Romania, this focused mainly on the transition from institutional care to family and community-based services, which reached about 70% of the children benefiting from a family-like environment and included foster care or family placements. Reaching out this point, it is time for us to invest in the prevention of separation of children from their families, which still occurs due to many reasons, including poverty, violence against children, and disability. We are aware that in a country that still faces challenges in securing children's rights to health, education, adequate standard of living, and alternative care, the development and implementation of efficient and relevant national action plan for a child guarantee will be challenging. But in this process, we are committed to further foster the engagement with civil society organizations such as UNICEF Romania and Save the Children Romania, and build upon their expertise as primary interlocutors of vulnerable children and families. The National Strategy on Child Rights for 2021-2027, currently under development, aims to promote quality family and community-based care, supporting children's independent living and social integration, most importantly, prevention. On this path, Romania has engaged in modeling of coordinated cross-sectoral preventive services covering social and child protection, health, and education at local and county levels. This model, implemented together with UNICEF during 2015-2019 and still running sustainably today, was based on the hypothesis that a universal integrated package of preventive social services to children and their families can reduce equity gaps and child deprivations, but also the costs in the social sectors. The independent evaluation of the minimum package of services model showed a highly positive impact in many dimensions of the situation of vulnerable children in participating communities. It demonstrated that simply by eliminating errors of exclusion from the social protection system, monetary poverty can be significantly reduced, hospitalization days can be reduced, school participation increased. The use of the simple online case management instrument already tested by UNICEF aims at creating a new management information system for child rights with the minimum package of services incorporated in the normative framework of Romania. We also consider that the investment in the scale-up of the minimum package is building better a system in the area of early childhood education and care, one healthy meal each school day, and other pillars of the child guarantee. Ever since the publication of the Commission's proposal for a Council recommendation establishing a European child guarantee, Romanian government took the first preparatory steps and initiated a constructive dialogue with relevant stakeholders such as UNICEF, Save the Children Romania, and other civil society actors with solid grassroots experience in working with and for the most vulnerable children and their families and the communities in Romania. Furthermore, our government is committed to dedicate a major share of the funds allocated under ESF Plus and Recovery and Resilience Facility to investments related to children's well-being. Last but not least, I would like to underline the importance of child participation, which is a priority in our national strategy too. Children in need that will benefit from the child guarantee should be empowered to say what they want, what works for them, what their challenges are, and what will make their lives easier. We cannot develop policies for them without asking them, and where relevant, their parents too. They should be able to inform policy development and in particular, the Child Guarantee Action Plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And especially your last point, I say, has to really touch me very strongly. And I'm sure it does others as well. The need to empower children and to have them participate in policy making and decision making. So important. And when we heard all the videos, we saw those videos, we heard what they want, and we meet them every day. So thank you very much indeed, Ms. Kereches. Let me turn now to Saila Ruth. Ms. Saila Ruth, State Secretary, Ministry of Social Affairs and Health in Finland. So, Ms. Saila, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everyone. Dear Commissioner and Ms. Khan and all the colleagues present. And thank you. Thank you so much for the Commission, UNICEF and Portuguese Presidency for organizing this very important meeting. All the pilot projects that we have heard about today have been very interesting and insightful. The Council recommendation on the European Child Guarantee is a very crucial tool to ensure equal opportunities for every child in Europe. We are very pleased that it will be on the agenda of the Council meeting next week. So thank you very much for the Portuguese presidency and all of you who have been active on this topic. In Finland, we have recently published our first national child strategy. This strategy was prepared last year by a committee with representation from all the political parties, not only from the government, but also from the opposition. So the idea was to lay out a very widely shared vision on the rights of the child for many years to come, not only for this government, but also for the future government, so that it will be a long-lasting development and work on the matter. I think we need multiple policy measures to address poverty and to tackle social exclusion of children. These measures, of course, include, as has been said many times before today, education, social and health services, as well as cash benefits, such as child benefits. I think these investments are not only morally right, but they are also in the very core of economy of well-being. They are investments that our aging societies in Europe need and that we must be ready to make. The Finnish child strategy helps us to make our child and family policies more coherent and aligned with the rights of the child and their full implementation. We are currently preparing the first implementation plan in order to create more child and family-friendly nation. The national strategy shares its goals with the EU strategy on the rights of the child and the European Child Guarantee. For example, we focus on non-discrimination and equality of children, taking action on child poverty and enhancing the rights of children in vulnerable and disadvantaged positions. And at the moment, we are planning several projects in these areas. For example, on safeguarding and supporting the equal role of children and young people in information society, and on children and young people's access to services. If I just take one example, I think children and young people with mental health problems need better access to services that they need. So all of these issues require both overarching goals and concrete policy measures, and we need to invest actions to tackle child poverty. This is needed also in terms of reaching the poverty targets of the action plan of European Pillar of Social Rights. And these investments are crucial not only to break the chain of intergenerational poverty, but also for the future of Europe, as I already mentioned. So thank you very much for this seminar, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Ms. Ruth. So we've heard now from Belgium, France, Romania, and Finland. And these are countries that are not in the pilot projects at the moment, but obviously have the experiences and schemes and projects that they wanted to share. So we're really enriched by your contributions as well. It's now my pleasure to introduce a video sent to us by Mr. Janez Cigler-Kralj. He's Minister of Labour, Family, Social Affairs and Equal Opportunities in Slovenia, who, as you know, is the current presidency of the EU. So let's watch the video.
Dear Vice President Šuica, dear Commissioner Schmidt, dear Minister Mendes Godinho, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to speak to you today. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Presidency, UNICEF and European Commission for organizing this event and for all the efforts leading to the adoption of the Council recommendation establishing a European Child Guarantee. The incoming Slovenian presidency is fully committed to make the European Child Guarantee a reality. Slovenia, as a member state, has always had a child well-being high on the political agenda. As you know, our poverty and social exclusion rate for children has been the lowest in the EU for years. However, this is not enough. We will enhance our efforts to lower it further as much as possible. I strongly believe that in the 21st century, no child should be left behind. Our aging society simply cannot afford losing any human potential. And all children have the potential. We have to enable its development. We have to step up our efforts for guaranteeing equal opportunities to all children to become active citizens and to fully participate in these societies. During the Slovenian presidency, the focus will be on the implementation of European Child Guarantee. We will try to do our best to encourage member states to prepare ambitious national action plans and to monitor its implementation. A video conference in November is planned to address the topic. We'll build on the experiences and good practices from the ongoing pilot project, which could significantly help member states to improve the existing measures and to adopt new measures to tackle child poverty and social exclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, the incoming presidency considers the European Child Guarantee as an important mechanism guiding member states in their efforts to combat social exclusion of children and contributing to the achievement of the target of lifting at least 5 million of children out of poverty and social exclusion by 2030. We are very happy with the commitment on taking on the objective of fighting child poverty made by the EU leaders in Porto Summit Declaration. The Slovenian presidency will build upon that, since we strongly believe that a greater social cohesion and sustainable development of our societies is only possible if we take care also of people most in need. Children in need deserve our special attention. The circle of intergenerational transfer of poverty and disadvantages can be most efficiently broken in early childhood. We shall be aware of the fact that investing in children means taking care of our future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister. And of course, Slovenia is the next EU presidency. My apologies to Ms. Godinho. We know, of course, that Portugal is in the EU chair at the moment. So let me now turn to our final speaker. It's my great privilege and pleasure to see Mr. Schwitzer again online. Ms. Dubravka Schwitzer, Vice President of the European Commission for Democracy and Demography, and of course, a commissioner who is very, very implicated, engaged, and involved on social issues within the European Executive. So, Commissioner Schwitzer, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. Dear Minister Mendes Godinho, dear ministers, dear Mr. Khan, dear Nicholas, dear Shada, and dear colleagues and friends. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the concluding remarks of this excellent event. But before that, let me thank all member states for your efforts and the progress made in fighting child or children poverty. And now one quotation. School lets you open to the world and talk to people. School is life. End of quotation. This is one of the many messages we have received from children as we develop the Child Guarantee and the strategy on the rights of the child. These words and the very powerful messages we have received today from children remind us how important it is for every child to have an equal start in life and equal rights. This is what all of you mentioned in your speeches. I have listened and learned from the experience and insights from countries involved in the pilot action on the European Child Guarantee. I'm very pleased that we have partnered with UNICEF and that the implementation on the ground is generating concrete results. The European Child Guarantee is an important step towards implementing the European Pillar of Social Rights and the European Union Strategy on the rights of the child. It is a key instrument to foster equal opportunities for those most vulnerable. This is all the more important in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has amplified pre-existing inequalities whose impact will be felt for years to come. So we need to make up for those losses by guaranteeing free and effective access to education and school-based activities, at least one healthy meal each school day, and healthcare for all children in need, as well as to early childhood education and care. Children in need should also be guaranteed effective access to healthy nutrition and adequate housing. This is the very minimum we owe to our younger generation. the next generation of European Union. With about 1 in 5 children living at risk of poverty or social exclusion in European Union, delivering on the European Child Guarantee recommendation will be a demanding task, but one that we urgently need to complete. Therefore, member states should prepare action plans covering the period until 2030. As you know, the deadline for preparation of the action plans was extended from initially proposed 6 to 9 months until March next year. This extension will allow for thorough involvement of all relevant stakeholders. In particular, children themselves should be consulted as laid out in the European Union Strategy on the Rights of the Child, which we adopted in March this year. The recommendation also calls for nomination of national child guarantee coordinators. And I urge you to do it quickly so that those coordinators are from the very beginning involved in the preparation of the action plans. In Spain, for example, the High Commissioner Against Child Poverty is an executive body of the government presidency. This is a strong mandate and signals a genuine political commitment. I do believe that member states where poverty is high will consider giving a strong mandate to their national child guarantee coordinators. European Union funds will be available to support the implementation of the European Child Guarantee and further supportive measures within the European Social Fund. Plus, all member states will need to earmark an appropriate amount to tackle child poverty or social exclusion. The European Regional Development Fund and InvestEU will equally support investments in infrastructure, in equipment, and in access to quality and mainstream services. Next Generation EU, the Recovery and Resilience Facility, offers additional union funding for reforms, for investments, and for policies for the next generation. All these tools will help us increase investment in children and those most vulnerable. And to conclude, dear all, it is good to see that the European Child Guarantee is becoming a reality. And we all agree that child poverty has no place in our society. This is what all of you said this afternoon. Andreas from the Child Advisory Board told us, children do not just want to survive. They want to live, they want to thrive. We don't want to be judged by our age, by our ethnicity, but by the beauty of our dreams. Together, we need to live up to our promise not to leave any child behind and to enable each and everyone to thrive. And this is to thank all of you for your patience, for your hard work, for your efforts in trying to fight children's poverty, but I'm sure that together we can do a lot. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Vice President. Thank you very much for that speech. And also, I think the promise you've made, the commitment that EU funds will be available to support the implementation of the European Child Guarantee and further supportive measures. I think this will be very reassuring to all of us who are present today and also for those watching and working on the Child Guarantee program. Thank you very much, everyone. We've had an enormously interesting, informative, inspiring 2 hours of conversations, keynote speeches, panelists, sharing of experiences. It's been really encouraging for me as an EU commentator and analyst to be, I think, really privileged to be part of this conversation. We've shared our experiences, we've learned what governments have done, the challenges they have faced, how they have innovated, and how they are going to move forward. And the consultation, the energy behind that, I think is a message of hope to many, many children across Europe, that there are people looking out for them, even in the middle of a pandemic, which, as all of you have said, has really caused devastation, especially for the most vulnerable. We've heard cases, we've heard the children themselves telling us of their hopes and aspirations. So thank you all very much. Next Monday is going to be an important day because we are hoping and looking forward to the adoption of the recommendation of the European Child Guarantee. I think all of us are really, really reassured and encouraged by that. All of you panelists and speakers, thank you very much for your patience, joining in and bearing with me as I moderated this conversation. And thank you to all the participants as well. We're going to end on another high note. We have a video. We have a video of children who will be telling us, let me just read it to you, what it means to be a child living in poverty or facing disadvantages. Once again, from me, Shada Islam, thank you very much for joining and have a good, safe weekend.
I feel like being a child living in poverty or facing disadvantages means working 100 times harder, or in many cases, never even getting a chance for a better life, no matter how hard you try.
Τα παιδιά τα οποία ζουν στη φτώχεια, πρώτα απ' όλα δεν έχουν όνειρα, με αποτέλεσμα να χάνουν την παιδική τους ηλικία. Εκτός από αυτό, αντιμετωπίζουν εμπόδια, με αποτέλεσμα να κουράζονται από πολύ μικρή ηλικία και να μην έχουν στόχους.
Когато виждам такива неща ми става много жал, защото искам да им помогна, но понякога не ми достига средствата.
И при децата в неравнопоставено положение пак е гадно, те попадат в дискриминации, така че аз съм бил свидетел на такава дискриминация и просто съм виждал, че това нещо не е изобщо приятно и не го пожелавам на никой.
Според мен да си дете, живеещо в бедност, означава да нямаш основните неща за начин на живот, а именно покрив над главата си, топла храна, нужна за развитието, образование и достъп до лекарски прегледи и изобщо до медицина.
Živjeti u siromaštvu je za mene značilo da sam često bio zanemaren od strane roditelja, da sam bio prepustin samom sebi, da sam bio više gladan nego sit.